Hello everyone, and welcome to the solutions lecture for the Python Crash Course exercises. Let's hop over to the notebook and get started. Alright, here I am at the Python Crash Course exercises notebook, and what we're going to go ahead and do is just scroll down to the first task. So task 1 was given the price is equal to 300, use Python to figure out the square root of the price. So let's define price is equal to 300 by running that cell, and then there's two ways you could do this. One way is to take the price and take the exponent to the power of 1/2. So 1 divided by 2, and that gives you 7.32. Or you could just say to the power of 0.5. So that's the same thing as taking the square root of something, taking the power to its reciprocal. The other way you could do this, and we actually showed this during the crash course, is you can import math and then say math.sqrt square root of the price, and that returns the same thing. Okay, moving along to task number 2, is given the string stock underscore index is equal to S&P 500, grab 500 from the string using indexing or slicing. So if we run this to define it, all you have to do after that is call stock index, and then we want 500. So that's going to start at index 0, 1, 2, which means we want to go from 2 colon all the way to the end. So we run this and we get back 500. Task number 3 was given the variable stock index is equal to S&P 500, price is equal to 300, use .format to print out the following string. The S&P 500 is at 300 today. Okay, so we'll run that to define those two variables, and then we'll start off with our string. We'll say the curly braces is at curly braces today. Then I'll say .format, and I'm going to pass in stock index. I'm just using tab to autocomplete there, and then I'll say tab price. There we go. And then let's print out this entire thing. Wrap it in parentheses, and there you go. The S&P 500 is at 300 today. Task number 4. Given the variable of a nested dictionary with nested lists, and this one's a little tricky, we get this kind of giant variable thing, use indexing and key calls to grab the following items, 250 and then number 365. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see this entire dictionary. So right here I have the stock info dictionary, and what we're going to do is try to first grab this 250 from it. And this is tricky at first, especially if you're not used to this sort of thing, but let's check out stock info and let's just find out what the keys it has. So we'll say stock info keys, and we can see that the top level keys presented here are S&P 500 and info. These other keys, those are the nested keys inside of this other key, so we don't actually get to see them. They're not actually part of stock info keys, they're part of this nested dictionary keys. So the top level keys are S&P 500 and info. So I can see that I want to grab S&P 500 first to get back this dictionary. Then from that dictionary, I want to grab yesterday to get back this 250 value. So that's exactly what I'll do. I'll say stock info, and then I will grab S&P 500. And if I run that, I get back today 300, yesterday 250. So then I'm going to just do another call here and call yesterday. And that gives me back to 250. So it's stock info, the key call S&P 500, key call yesterday. The next one we want to get is 365. So 365, when we take a look at it, it looks like it's on info. So we'll start off with that. We'll say stock info, grab the info key that returns this list, which is actually a nested list. We have time and then 24, 7, 365. So now I have to use numerical indexing. So this list is the second item out of this outer list, which means I need to use indexing 1 here. And then that returns back 24, 7, 365. So now if I want 365, that is at index 2, which gives me back 365. So it's info, then 1, then 2. And if you get trouble with these, don't worry about it too much, but a really great practice is to just kind of break down the layers, so keep kind of peeling away at this to get an idea of what's actually happening here. Now let's go to task 5, which is given the strings with this form where the last source value is always separated by 2 dashes, so that's kind of the key here, always separated by 2 dashes, create a function called source finder that returns the source. So that's actually going to be pretty simple with the split method. So let's kind of zoom in here and write out our function. So to start off, to actually create the function, we'll use the def keyword, and then we'll type out source finder, and we'll just accept that string. And then what I'm going to do on this string is I'm going to split at these 2 dashes. So I'm going to return the string, and I'm going to split it on the 2 dashes. So if I just run this, I will get back a list where the last item in my list is always going to be equal to that source. which means I can just index it, say -1, and then off of that, I get Quandl, the source. So I'm just splitting on those two dashes and then grabbing the last item in that list of the split result. All right, task number 5 is to create a function called priceFinder that returns true if the word price is in a string. So your function should work even if price is capitalized or next to punctuation. So the way we do that is the following. We will say def, let me zoom in here one more level, and then we'll say price_finder. It's going to take in some string s, and it's going to return checking if the string price is in s. So if we just do that by itself, it's actually not enough, because what's going to happen is it'll say true for this first one, but for the second one it will say false because this is capitalized and it's looking for this exact string. So the next thing we can do here is on s, I will call the .lower method. And so what that ends up doing is it lowercases a string and then checks if price, lowercase, is in the lowercase version of the string. And then we'll get true off all these. Okay. Task number 6 is to create a function called countPrice that counts the number of times the word price occurs in the string. And it says to account for capitalization and if the word is next to punctuation. So this one's probably a little more complicated of a function. We're going to say def countPrice takes in a string, and we'll say count is equal to 0 at first. So we'll initialize our count, and then we're going to do the following. We'll say for word in, and I'm going to say s.lower, and then we'll split it on the white space. We're going to say if price is in word, I'm going to add 1 to my count. I'll say count is equal to count plus 1. Then at the end of this, once the for loop is done, note my indentation here, I'm going to return the count. So note the indentation, I'm not doing return here in the for, instead I'm doing it aligned with the for. So what this actually does is the following. It's going to say set my count equal to 0, then for word in s.lower.split, so that's going to lowercase everything, then split it on the white space, which gives me back a list of the lowercase words. If price is in that lowercase version of the word, add 1 to the count, and then finally return the count. So I can run this and I get 3, so that also works. There's actually a simpler method, and the simpler method is to just say def count price, then you're going to return s.lower, and then there's actually another method you can call called count. You can kind of stack these methods on top of each other. You can just say .count price, and that works the exact same way. This one's a little more advanced, and I wouldn't expect you to kind of get it right away unless you're familiar with Python. This is kind of the more logical way to do it. And then finally, task number 7, create a function called averagePrice that takes in a list of stock price numbers and calculates the average. So all we need to do here is say def averagePrice, takes in some stocks, and then I'm going to return the sum of the stocks. And this one you may have had to look up. Hopefully the word sum was a big enough hint there. And then divided by length of the stocks. And there you have it. Okay, hopefully those tasks weren't too hard for you. If you felt that this was kind of an overwhelming challenge, I would recommend you take some sort of refresher course in basic Python. If you felt these were pretty easy or, okay, that's good. That's exactly the level you should be at to continue on with the rest of the course. If you have any questions, feel free to post to the Q&A forums. Thanks, and I'll see you at the next section.